Now I'd like to look at aloe vera. Have you ever cut a leaf of aloe vera or cut the tip of a leaf? Have you noticed how quickly a skin grows? That's because it's got a growth stimulant in it. I call aloe vera God's skin cream. I used to use it if my babies had nappy rash. Just open the leaf and just slime it all over them. But where it's particularly helpful is for burns. And we've seen some remarkable responses with burns. So our maintenance man, Dave, he was burning off a whole lot of rubbish and trees, and it wasn't burning properly, so he got petrol. And the flames came up, got his face, got his arm, and real badly on the leg. So he didn't tell anyone, and he just went home and had a shower, and his brother came in and so called one of the staff, and they quickly got aloe, and they opened the aloe and just sliced out the gel and put it here and there. And then they called me about an hour later because he was still in a lot of pain, and they said, we think that we need to take him to hospital. And when I heard that, I said, hang on, let's have a look. And what I did, and this is very important, is you don't take the aloe out of the leaf. So you must leave the leaf intact, because if you take the gel out, when it's time to change the dressing, the edges will have stuck. And one of the worst things you can do with burns is have something that's going to dry, and then you rip the skin even more. So what I did was I had a crowd, because they were all thinking we need to take him to hospital, and there was one area on his leg that I could tell had gone down the 3 layers of skin. It was down to the flesh. And we've got a lot of aloe vera at Misty Mountain. So we cut the leaf and we did like a jigsaw on his leg. Can you see like that? And so we had a few people, because it's so slimy, it's trying to move around. Now you cut off the spikes on the edge. So you just cut it down the middle and open it. And if you leave the skin intact, that will never dry out. That's a very important point. It will not dry out. So a lot of people have used it, but they've just taken the gel out, put it on, bandaged it up, but then they go to change the dressing. Then the edges dry out. So what we did was we put that, and I kept saying, Dave, it's okay. He's like this. So we did it all over his leg. We did it all up his arm. Bit hard to put it on his face, so we just rubbed it on his face. His face actually wasn't that bad, but of course it's painful. So we rubbed it on, and you just keep rubbing it on, and it'll make a little bit of a skin too. Have you ever put aloe vera on your skin? It's slimy, but then it's probably only about 20 minutes you got a skin on there. And then we asked God to bless it. We bandaged the whole thing on. And he smiled, and the pain level's gone. I think it was 10 out of 10 when I got to him. He was not good, but he was holding on. And it was down to about 8 out of 10 when I left. And this was probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't hear anything, so I thought all is good. And he said it came to about 4 out of 10 by the time he went to bed. And I said, don't move it. I said, I'll come and dress it again in 24 hours. Remember, he'd gone home and had a shower, so he just had a shower. There was probably no need for him to have another shower till another 24 hours. And when I went in the morning, he was just sitting in the chair smiling at me. What does that tell you? I said, what are your pain levels? He said, it's probably only 1 or 2 out of 10. That's incredible, isn't it? What you've got to do with a burn, you basically got to stop the air getting to it, because the air on it can be very painful. We changed it after 24 hours. We put a whole lot of more leaves on, and he could handle the dressing change. You know, sometimes the dressing change is very painful, but you know, there was no sticking at all, and the aloe had kept it moist and slimy and beautiful. And we changed it. I think we only did that twice. So I saw him on the 3rd day, and he's coming to collect the compost bins. And his face looked really good. Now, he's got dark skin, and often with burns on the dark skin, you know, you can really see the difference. The next day, I looked at his leg, and the blister had burst. And underneath the blister was new skin. Isn't that incredible? And they were all amazed. Do you remember what they wanted to do? They wanted to take him to hospital. And I can understand, because what the dressing they'd put on, it was not getting a response. If you're not getting a response, oh, that's what you've got to do. But when I saw what they'd done, I thought they didn't realise what you've got to do. You've got to leave that skin on. And then a lady contacted me. She's a friend of mine. She said, a friend of mine had an accident with boiling water and burnt her chest and all down her arm, and the skin's just falling off. She's been to the doctor, and the doctor said right in the middle here, they call that the 1st degree burns, when, you know, it's the first layer of skin is gone. The 3rd degree burn is usually just the top layer. And the doctor wants her to go to Sydney, which is 5 hours away, and he thinks she'll have to have skin grafts, and it's possible she'll never have the full use of her arm again. Now, she had twin boys who were 2. And another little 4-year-old. And the husband's working, so they were in a dilemma. What do we do? And my friend said to them, I know a lady that I think can help. And so I said to them, put the aloe on straight away, get the strips and put it on straight away. And then I could not see them till the next afternoon. So I met them at our mutual friend's house, who's got this huge crop of aloe vera, and there was about 10 people there all watching to see what's going to happen. And when I looked at the arm, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. There was only really a small part that was quite raw, and her husband was standing there frowning. She said, my husband's not happy. He wants me to go to Sydney. He wants me to go to hospital. You know, he thinks I'm going to lose the use of my arm. And so I said to him, I can understand how you feel, but let's just give this a try. I've seen it do incredible things. And I said, the arm isn't as bad as I thought it would be. He said, okay. And so I did the same thing with the arm. And we needed about 3 people to hold this slimy aloe on. And then when we put it all around the arm, we put cling wrap around it and then bandaged it on. And she said that that made an incredible relief. The chest was looking quite good because she'd already had the aloe on there, but she hadn't been able to secure it properly here and it was still hurting. And I said, don't change it for 24 hours. Why not for 24 hours? Because what happens is the skin starts to heal, and if you change it too much, you disrupt that healing skin. And you'll find in hospitals today, sometimes they don't change them for 2 days, 48 hours, because that's what they've found, sometimes 3 days. And so I didn't do the next dressing, you know, I'd shown them, and the house where we went to, I think they just went there because they all saw what to do. One of the reasons why they decided to go with the aloe vera is she felt so good. She said once that was on, her pain levels went right down. And when the husband saw her relaxed and happy, and I said to him, aloe vera has a growth stimulant, I think this can do it. Now he was happy to go with that, because if they did go to Sydney, he was going to have to find someone to mind the twins and the little, and he was going to have to get time off work, and you know, it gets incredibly complicated. So that also won him. I didn't hear from them again, but I did hear from our mutual friend, and she said, it's healing very nicely. That's all I heard. But 2 months later, I was going to see my local cranial sacral chiropractor, who's a very clever guy in fixing backs. And just before I went in to see him, they came out of the room. And they just came out of the room like this. And when they looked up and saw me, they went, ah, Barbara! It's like a celebrity had just walked in the room. And the husband's just smiling like this. And they were just smiling. They just told me everything. And she pulled up a jumper. She said, look. You know, you couldn't even not see that there'd been a problem there. She said, look, I've got full use of my arm. So it's certainly worth a try, isn't it? Well, they actually didn't go back to the doctor. Because what the doctor had done is he'd given them a referral to a specialist in Sydney. And they basically just rang up and said, we've got another opinion. You never say, we're going to get an alternative opinion, because as soon as you say alternative, they immediately think you're going into something that many doctors and nurses think is like quackery. Not all doctors and nurses think that. I know some doctors and nurses that don't think that at all, but unfortunately some do. So aloe vera is just like a miracle herb, and that's why when I first moved into my house 10 years ago, I planted aloe vera and comfrey all around my house.